was indeed a shocking attack. The people who carried out the attack knew what they were doing, so it makes one wonder why. The general understanding on both sides is that no one wants an escalation now. The whole thought was that with Gaza winding down, there will be some agreement for now between Israel and Hezbollah, which will cease the fire and allow Israeli citizens, about 80,000 evacuated citizens, back to their homes in northern Israel. So certainly, even though Israel vows to avenge, and it is not going to do something which is outside the scope of more or less what we've seen now, because Israel does not want escalation, and neither does Hezbollah. So we are in a kind of a strange situation where some action has to be carried out, but it has to be under the bar, which will create a whole new war in the north. Moderate is all relative. I just want to say one thing which was mentioned earlier about a war with Hezbollah or with Lebanon. Israel has no beef with Lebanon. There's no border dispute. There's no a war with Lebanon. You have to remember that the Lebanese army itself is supported both by the French and by the US. It's a very weak army, and you have to remember that because of the economic situation in Lebanon, then today a high-ranking officer in the Lebanese army is making less money than a Hezbollah activist, which gets funded by Iran. So it's a big issue on that side, and to make the distinction between Lebanon and Hezbollah is not an easy thing, as they are entwined one with each other, and with the Hezbollah having members in the parliament, etc. Regarding Iran, which is actually the main actor in the region and the one that's stimulating everything that we've been seeing going on, we don't see the change in leadership as so important, because remember that when it comes to external affairs, and when it comes to activating all the actors around the Middle East and beyond, it is actually not the responsibility of the Prime Minister and the leadership, and therefore we haven't seen Iran come out and say we are stopping to develop nuclear weapons, which they say they developed to annihilate Israel. They have not stopped funding any of the terrorist activities around the globe or in the Middle East. So I don't think the change is so much relevant to what's going on in the conflict in the region, but much more of an internal issue in Iran. And again, things in Iran are not that easy. We've seen in the last few years a few attempts of civilians to demonstrate maybe even a small-scale coup, which didn't work, and I think that it's also an attempt of the leadership there to appease the local population and to get more silence on the internal front, so they can concentrate on what's important for them for some reason. That really depends how you define winner. I cannot see that they have had any achievement besides disturbing the peace, killing Israelis, and then in the end inflicting a lot of suffering on the Gazan civilians and also in the southern Lebanese civilians. So I can't really see a win here for anybody, and therefore getting away with murder, yes, certainly. It's actually quite appalling that the world is allowing a country which is literally saying that it wants to annihilate another member of the UN, that is creating so much havoc. Remember, the whole world trade has been affected by the Houthis, which are an Iranian proxy. It's cost of goods has gone up, cost of shipping has gone up, cost of insurance has gone up, and the world is suffering, and for some reason the world turns a blind eye to this. And so yes, they are getting away with murder. I will give you though one more scoop just to the opening of our conversation, and that is, as was mentioned here, Syria is a serious, let's call it logistic backbone for Hezbollah, and therefore I will not be surprised if some of the Israeli attacks, which we will see in a bit higher scale, will target assets on Syrian ground. That is something we shouldn't disregard also as part of the bit higher, slightly higher attack against Hezbollah. And then again, hopefully, if we do see within the next few weeks Israel moving into the second phase of the Gaza war, maybe that will be the time also to strike a deal with Hezbollah and get a bit more peace and quiet to the region.